It's not a... Well, I mean, I guess in some ways, again, what is a roguelike really?
They're like, oh, someone's trying to uncover the Tartarian Empire. We can't allow this. We have to stop them.
I like your idea of, like, can we get the player to be lazy?
Hey there, folks. Howdy, gamers. And what's up, game-playing folks? I'm Isaac, and I didn't come up with one either.
Oh my gosh. And I'm Claire, and I think that the Zelda series is all called Link's Awakening.
And this is...
Make that game! Where we pitch the latest,
the greatest,
new video game ideas
that aren't ever gonna get made. But yeah, every single time she says, I was playing Link's Awakening, and she means Breath of the Wild. And just before this, we were talking about, oh, Claire didn't come up with something. And the entire time that we were talking about that, I forgot that I didn't come up with anything either. So
Yep,
that's fun.
great.
That's great. That's what we do here. We're professional casters of the pod.
That's true.
So, a little administrative information before we ride into the making of the games.
Scallop right in there.
We are going to do a little change to our format. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, we're going to stop uploading full episodes to YouTube for a little while and just upload clips from our episodes. And we're going to focus primarily on putting the actual podcast content on podcatchers like Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever. So be prepared to transition from YouTube to that, but you'll still make that game YouTube content.
Yeah. So, and if you hate that idea and you're like, no, you have to stay on YouTube or I'll leave forever, feel free to message us on YouTube. Write a comment on this video, engage with the video. We'll listen to our fans here.
Actually, yeah, that's a good point. If it turns out that that's the worst idea.
Yeah, we can always switch it back up, but this is the plans going forward. So yeah, look, this will be the last full episode on YouTube for a little while, but you will still get YouTube content frequently from episodes and from other things. So
yes. So that being said, Claire, do you have a game idea to pitch unto me?
What we do here is pitch game ideas to each other.
Yeah.
I know we kind of say it in our intro, but to be clear, that's the biggest main event that we do.
Yes.
Is pitch game ideas that we've come up. We talk about the game design in each idea, and then we see if we like it. So the game idea I have today, I do have one, thank goodness, is working title, Fridge Magnet. And
I like where this is going already.
It is a resource management game where you're a goblin who lives in the fridge.
Okay, all right, we're going wild with this one.
And you have to manage the produce and such and leftovers before they go bad.
Okay.
So you have to organize the fridge. You have like lots of like descending, I guess, health bars for every kind of type of item in the fridge. And if you put it in the wrong place, it could like make its deterioration faster. Like moving it to the front could encourage the fridge user to eat it finally. Like, yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, do you think that this is mostly menu-based positioning, or is this like a kind of physics kind of game where you're a little character running around and like you can pick up and place items?
I pictured it as a little character running around.
Okay, good.
That's kind of the fun. Is maybe you can like even character design your little goblin. Like that's, I don't know.
Ooh.
You're just a little fridge goblin running around, keeping the fridge nice, making sure things don't go bad. And if everything in the fridge spoils, that's like how you lose. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if all the health bars or like little management bars go down to 0, nice, I like it. Now, what happens if one management bar goes down to 0? Like if all the produce goes bad?
Well, I guess like, I don't know. I guess I didn't think this through super thoroughly, but I was thinking either you have a way to like clean it up, so that could be one of your tasks is like cleaning up the like garbage fruit, because if like tomatoes spoil but they're in the same cabinet as the celery, then the celery could spoil faster. That's
Yeah.
how the real world works. So like you have to clean up the tomatoes really fast, and if you don't, then the celery is going to go. So it's like I think you do have a cleanup option, but the idea is that will take time away from like your other management. But if you don't do it, then you're just gonna lose faster, kind of.
Right. Spiral out of control.
Yeah.
Can you leave a note to ask the humans to bring specific things? Like if all the produce is gone, can you say, we need more produce?
I guess that's not something I was thinking of as far as like it's almost like grocery list management, but you could, because also you could suggest things that like wouldn't go bad as fast. Like if the milk's always going bad, like maybe buy almond milk because it has a longer
Oh,
shelf life. Or
be like, hey, you don't actually drink milk ever, so stop buying it.
or if you like you didn't like all of your kale went bad 2 weeks in a row, so you shouldn't buy kale anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, that could be part of it too.
there we
But I
go.
don't know. Part of me is like, it's almost like I don't know if the humans know that the fridge goblin exists.
That's true, but so they don't have to. If it's leaving notes, they could just it's if it's like a couple, they could just whoever sees the note might think that it's from their partner.
Okay.
And then just never actually like have a discussion about it. Like, hey, those notes that you keep leaving. What? I thought you were leaving the notes. We
Well,
just
if you
assume
ever
that
get
never happens.
if you ever get a grocery note that's not in our grocery list app, then you know we have a fridge goblin.
Exactly. Another thing that you could manage in this game is you have to be the one that turns on and off the light.
Ha! That is kind of funny. As they open the door, you have to turn off on the light fast enough. That's
Yeah,
funny.
you have to like
Stop
quickly
what you're
get up to the
doing.
light.
And I do see this as a game that like it's not like a long form game. You'd play it multiple times in a row in a sitting. Like you're gonna try to get as many days in the fridge without everything going bad as
Yeah.
possible.
So it's like a shorter like coffee break, like I'll call it run based game where
Yeah.
run is, um an attempt from start to finish,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Like a
So
roguelike run, but it doesn't seem like it's a roguelike really.
it's not a well, I mean, I guess in some ways, again, what is a roguelike really? But if you
It's a roguelite.
roguelike, well, because I do think like in a sense it is because the idea would be that every time you start a new game, like it's the fridge will be different. Like maybe it's like a
Right.
different couple or different people who like are so it's going to be different ingredients in the fridge.
Oh,
But
great.
you
This run I got someone who really likes to buy ground beef.
yeah, so it's like but like you might have seen ground beef before, just not that much of it. Who knows? So like
Mhm.
you get so it is in that sense where every single episode, every single run is going to be randomized, right?
Yep.
So kind of like that. Wow, I may have written a roguelite game despite absolutely hating that.
It's actually easy when you don't know exactly what they are because then a bunch like you could accidentally come up with them.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, that's my game. I came up with it because we were talking about something going bad, and then you made a little badoop noise, and I said that sounds like the sound that like the potatoes would make as they go bad. And then I was like, that could be a video game.
Wow. Inspiration strikes us from everywhere, folks.
Exactly. So that's my game. I feel like it was a pretty short description, but you can imagine it. It's imaginable.
Yeah, and yeah, it seems like it's got some interesting elements going on with it. I could
Isaac,
see this game being made. I could see people playing it on Steam.
there you go. So Isaac, do you have a game to pitch to me?
Yes. So I'm going to preface this with a little lore. I
Oh
recently
boy.
discovered the conspiracy theory called about the Tartarian Civilization, which
I've
is
never heard of this.
it seems like a fairly new one.
Okay. Oh boy.
So basically the idea that I've gathered of this, and I don't super care about representing it correctly in any way because it's one of those outlandish like flat earth kind of ones. But the idea is that modern buildings are all square and brutalist, and when you look at a city skyline, like you see all the skyscrapers and they're just like the same architecture. They're meant to be cheap, built with steel and whatever. The idea
Yeah.
is all of those old-fashioned brick buildings with like cool architecture are built by an ancient civilization, and humans built cities around them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm trying to think of examples, but like they use like there's a Western styled building in China, I think. It's like a town hall or
Western,
a
like
post
the
office or
Old
something.
West.
Like well, Western like architecture style.
Well, okay, but that doesn't mean anything. There's 100 million architecture styles in the West alone. Not 100 million, but like at least five top. Like, what do you mean by that? Like brutalist? Do you mean modern? Do
No,
you mean
brutalist is
Edwardian?
modern. It's so
Well, no, those are two
so
different
the
things.
conceit of this one of the conceits of this conspiracy theory is that nobody in this like who believes this conspiracy theory knows anything about architecture. So
Clearly,
they see a Western style building in
that means
Asia and they say this was built by an ancient civilization. That's why
a
the
what
architecture doesn't match.
Western style doesn't mean anything. That doesn't
Correct.
mean anything.
Yes.
It means
Correct.
I skimmed an architecture book, like skimmed it barely, and I understand that that means nothing because like we've taken a lot of architectural influence from like all over to create like an America architecture style that also has like a million different variants. Like people always have been curious about
So
other
the
architecture.
idea here is that there is two kinds of architecture. There's modern and there's Tartarian. Okay? So
My brain is exploding with this knowledge. I can't.
like
Okay.
so you
All right, just continue.
you
Just
gotta
continue with the
just
conspiracy.
turn off your brain a little and buy into this. There's two types of
Oh,
buildings. There's
okay.
modern humans and there's Tartarians, which also were probably giants. Okay?
Oh, yeah, okay. Now I get it.
I wish
They're
I could
giant.
come up with examples of like building names that you would recognize and be able to figure.
I mean, they have to.
Anyways,
So,
so if we enter this world where this conspiracy theory is true that there was an ancient civilization called the Tartarians who had a global spanning empire millions of years ago, and they built all these buildings and they lasted for millions of years, and modern humans found them and then built cities around them, but modern humans only know how to build boring brutalist buildings. This game, Tartarian Legacy, is about being an explorer trying to solve the mystery of the Tartarian civilization. So you get in your helicopter and you fly over cities and you have to find the Tartarian buildings and you get into them and you solve puzzles and fight your way to the bottom of them, and they give you artifacts that you use to then expand this global mystery. So it's like
sorry,
an
sorry.
action adventure kind of game a la Tomb Raider,
It
where
sounds a lot like Carmen San Diego a little bit. No? Okay.
I haven't played any Carmen San Diego games. I'm familiar with like the
I think one of the
TV
reasons I
show.
think so is because the only Carmen San Diego game I played is Carmen San Diego Lost in Time. And so they like architecture plays a huge part in it. And that's probably why my brain is like, but it's like an adventure. Like you go to
Yeah.
different time periods and find clues about mysteries and stuff.
Yep. This so I'm specifically thinking action adventure because I want these Tartarian ruins to be filled with like goblins and other monsters. And not a roguelike because I imagine this game having like preset levels. But like
Yeah.
you find the
Yeah, yeah,
building,
obviously.
you land on top in your helicopter, you fight your way all the way down to the bottom, and then whatever artifact you find, because this is classic action adventure, causes the entire building to start shaking and eventually collapse. Like you take like the integral keystone or whatever, so
Okay,
then you
but
have to escape as the building collapses.
okay. So you're sorry, I was a little distracted when you first were pitching because I was still kind of trying to wrap my head around what the heck this is. Especially because I Googled Tartarian and this conspiracy was not the first thing that came up. So I'm like, how did you even find out about this? But anyway,
TikTok.
really?
Yeah, well, like
Well, a reel
a
on
reel or
Facebook, a
something
reel
that
on.
came up. One of those things.
Anyway, so is your goal to get rid of the Tartarians or to
No.
resurrect the
To have incontrovertible proof that
Okay.
Tartarian Empire existed, and in order to do that, you have to collect all these different
Okay.
pieces
So
of
I like
relics.
that. what I concerned about is the building collapsing, because though game design wise, like having to leave the building super quickly is really like, I get that from a game design perspective, but from a story perspective, it's like if you're trying to prove the existence of the Tartarian race, making the buildings collapse would be very anti your point. Like, I know you want the artifacts, but like having the buildings exist seems also important, right?
No, because the buildings have always existed and it's never convinced anyone. No one's ever been convinced by the building. So the buildings are actually useless in the
Okay.
pursuit of convincing people. You see? You see how it all makes sense?
I have to read about this. I'm so like, this is just
I will send you an article.
listeners. I just like this can like I am gonna have to go down a rabbit hole after that we record this episode. I need to know so much more. Like, I like how you're just like, yeah, so anyway, it's a fun adventure game and you find artifacts and that, and I'm like, I can't even get there. I'm so shocked by this conspiracy. But I like your game. I think it's fun. I think it needs like a million disclaimers with like,
Yes.
this is all fun and games.
Now,
But
I want to introduce one more game because I talked about the helicopter at first, but a big part of the game is going to be like the searching phase. So before each level, like, so you know that there is a Tartarian building in, let's say, New York City. There's a Tartarian building in New York City. So you're flying in your helicopter over New York City, but the government that's hiding, the New World government that's hiding the existence of the truth of the Tartarian Empire, has erected false Tartarian buildings. And so you have a scanner, so you have to
okay.
find it. Now, at
Yeah,
the beginning,
that
this
makes
is
sense.
fairly easy because the early levels, you see the buildings and you can scan them, and you just find the right one, you land on it, you go down. Later levels, you start having to fight in the helicopter in the skies because now the government is sending mercenaries and stuff after you to stop you. After you've collapsed a few buildings, they're like, "Oh, someone's trying to uncover the Tartarian Empire. We can't allow this. We have to stop them." So you have to fight your way to find the correct building through all the decoys, land on it, get to the bottom, grab the artifact, escape.
I really like this game. I think it's fun. I like how it's kind of like architecture plus fighting, which I guess is also kind of like an Indiana Jones kind of, like you said, Tomb Raider kind of like.
Yeah.
I again, listeners, I can't. My mind is. I need to know what buildings people think are these things. I just need to know more about it. But I like the idea that they have like decoy buildings, because that's the only way it really makes sense, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like
Like,
that
oh,
adds
look,
a
we
lot
can
of
build these, but if you look carefully, you can
plausibility.
detect
Yeah.
that it's cheaper materials, or different details or whatever. So, an expert Tartarian architecturist, archaeologist, can detect the true ones and the false ones if they observe it enough. But to do it under the pressure of being attacked by other fighter jets and helicopters. So yeah, that's Tartarian Legacy, or Legacy of the
Woohoo.
Tartars. I like Tartarian Legacy. It gets my point across better.
I like it. I like it. I would play this game, but I do think again it needs 100 million. Like, this is fake and fun. This is just for fun. Just so you know.
That's true.
Or
That's true.
or you could do a bait and switch at the end where you collected all the things and you have a real like archaeologist, real like the cutscene is like, oh, these are all from like blah 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 actual American history.
It just turns out some buildings happen to be infested by goblins and monsters and dinosaurs and stuff.
Yeah. This is
I
just
do
normal.
like the idea of like the level design getting more and more insane as you go on. Like the first one you go on is like a normal building that you just kind of go through and like, oh, there happens to be some goblins and stuff. But like by the end of the game, like there's an entire like jungle from floor to floor filled with like dinosaurs and whatever, and you're like,
Amazing.
what's going on here? But then it turns out, oh, this is not actually that. I like the bait and switch idea.
I think this would be a really fun game. I think I would definitely play it. Man, like I very much want to just pause the recording to spend an hour reading about this theory, but I'm not going to.
No, we have to.
I'm not going to.
On.
We're gonna plow through. So I actually, a little birdie told me that Isaac has a honk and bonk today.
I
Before we jump right in,
oh
we'll tell our listeners what a honk and bonk is, because we haven't done one in literally
oh
weeks and
that's
weeks and
true.
weeks. So,
That's true.
well, we started doing this in early episodes, but it got to be where I personally started hating playing video games because we were trying to play literally a new game a week and long enough that we could review it, which is really tough. So basically now we just have it. If we've finished a game or gotten far enough into a game where we have some thoughts on it, we're going to honk and bonk it. Honks are game design elements that we think are fantastic and we like them. And then bonks are like, maybe this could be a little better. Maybe this could be better designed. I don't know. So that's what we're going to talk about next. All right, Isaac, take it away.
All right, so I recently finished, if you listen to our most recent news show, I recently finished a game called Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is kind of a point-and-click adventure RPG sort of game where you play as an investigator checking out the mysterious death of a person in a kind of impoverished, lawless district of a land that your precinct technically has jurisdiction over, and you get partnered with a cop from another precinct who also has jurisdiction. There's like a jurisdiction dispute, so each precinct sent one cop to investigate this case. You play horrible goblin amnesiac cop who is insane and makes really bad choices, and the partner cop is straight-laced, does things by the book, etc., etc. That's the basic conceit of the game. So you get to create your character, you get to pick up a bunch of skills. Now, my first bonk with this game is that it's a honk and a bonk, so it has a wide range of skills. It's a lot like the skill list of like a Dungeons and Dragons character, more so than like the abilities of a Dungeons and Dragons character, or like a normal video game is going to give you like strength, agility, toughness, etc., and that's how you'll allocate your initial like attribute points. But this game splits all of those into like just skills, and you only ever interact with skills. Like you don't really worry about like what your base strength is. You worry about what your physical instrument, or I can't even remember the skill names. So it's interesting that they split it out into so many skills, because it gives a lot of like depth in how you want to build your character, or like what kind of situations the game can put your character in. Like it can have a physical test that doesn't rely on your physical instrument skill. It can rely on your constitution, I think, is one of them, instead of just being like a raw strength check or whatever. So like a character that's good at strength is good at all strength checks. This splits it into 4 or 5 different skills. The bonk here is that the skills all have unique names that don't necessarily directly associate with what the skill represents. So, as an example, if I told you I was about to make a savoir faire, and I butchered the pronunciation, check, I don't know if you
Yeah, that would
know
be
what those
like
words mean.
Yeah, it means like you know what you're doing. You're cool.
So, like, if to put it into D&D terms, would you expect that to be like a charisma style check, or dexterity, or
See,
like where would you fall that under?
it's kind of both, because it's kind of like it's like you know what you're doing with pizzazz, with like
Okay.
panache.
Interesting. All right. So one of my problems is I see savoir faire, and with no other context, which the game does provide context, but with savoir faire, I assume that it means, coolness as in like conversation or coming across as cool. Mostly it is used, so it's under the motorics category, which is effectively the same as like dexterity, and you use it for like jumping.
Okay, I would not
Like to
guess it for
jump a
jumping.
gap, you use a
But
savoir faire test.
so I would say like, yeah, that doesn't make as much sense to me, but at the same time, like technically, if you're translating the French, it does mean know how to do.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's not, it could be used for anything, but I see what you're saying where it's like it's not um what's the word? Instinctual to guess like what that
Yeah.
is.
There's another skill called Inland Empire.
That's a skill.
Yes.
Building? Is building a thing? I don't know.
No, Inland Empire is your ability to talk to inanimate objects.
That
Half-light.
ability itself surprises me.
Yes, there is another skill called half-light.
That would be to see in the dark.
No, it's
No.
actually your ability to like find ghosts. Okay, so there's two skills. There's shivers and half-light, and they both are to do with ghosts. No, maybe half-light is physical intimidation. Anyways, so this is the problem is that you
Yeah.
have 16 plus, I forget exactly how many skills. You have a ton of skills. Not all of them have obvious names like composure. Okay, I understand what that means. Physical instrument. I can guess that that's like strength. Volition is like your ability to control yourself and stuff. Some of them make sense, and then some of them like Inland Empire, Half-Light, Shivers, they don't really have like an immediate connotation to the average mind. So you have to read what they are, and not all of the descriptions are super duper descriptive, in my opinion. And I am also dumb. A lot of people don't seem to have had this problem, but this is one of the issues that I had with the game is what's going on. What's going on with all these skills? It's cool that they have so many skills. I feel like they could have gone with some more generic names. I recently retweeted on the Twitter account a thread that kind of talks about the same sort of issue. A game designer talked about how there's combat in every like video game because combat's easy to understand. You can basically guess that an attack is going to cause damage, defense is going to defend against an attack. Like all of these things kind of make sense are inherently like you, especially if you have a video game context, you like get what's going on. But as soon as you abstract the combat in your game to be dancing, now you have to explain a bunch of things. Like you have to help the player hit that abstraction of like, why is this dance going to like lower my enemy's attack? What about this dance that my character is doing is going to make their next dance less effective at making me feel bad about my dancing, or whatever HP hit points represents in your game. So I feel like Disco Elysium tried to do something interesting, and it ran into the flaw of, oh great, now we have to explain everything. And it can be really weird in the moment because like when you come across a check in the game, it'll just say like this is a savoir faire test, and then you have to remember, okay, what's savoir faire? Am I good at that? Is my character, is that a charisma test? It'll tell you like what your chances of succeeding are, but usually you can back out of the conversation and like put clothes on and stuff to make your skill
See,
better. But
this
uh,
is fun because it's like now you know how I feel when every time I play any video game. Because
yeah,
you're just
well, yeah,
describing how video games feel.
yes. Yes, you don't have the context. In that sense, you might be better at Disco Elysium than I
Well, I don't
was.
think so because you said I have to read what they are, which you know I
That's
don't.
yeah.
I
Who
don't.
reads? Who
I don't play
reads?
video games to read. Okay, no.
So yeah, that's one of my major gripes with Disco Elysium. The second gripe is a lot is gated behind random dice rolls. And this is a fierce debate that can be had. This is pure personal preference. Um, Pretty much everything is a 2d6 roll plus modifiers. So it rolls two six-sided dice, adds your modifiers, which could be positive or negative, and tests the result of that against the target number that you're looking for. So like jumping across a gap could be a 6 savoir faire check. And if you have 2 in your savoir faire skill, you roll 2 dice. If the total is 6 or higher, you succeed at jumping across.
Now, just
Some
for context, are you talking about the game itself rolling dice as in like random numbers or the physical
yes.
dice? Okay.
It generates random numbers and then it tells
Sometimes
you
there's
the
physical
results.
dice. You gotta be clear. You gotta be clear.
That's true. So I came across this problem, and this is a very unique to me problem. The game will tell you you have like an 83% or a 97% chance of success. And so I would take those, expecting pretty reasonably to succeed. But I failed so many of those so many times that it forced me, and not really forced me, but I decided that the only way that I could extract like enjoyment out of continuing this game was by save scumming, which is whenever I came across one of these checks, even if I saw that it was 97% chance of success, I would exit out of the conversation. I would save the game. I would go back into the conversation. I would make the test. And then if I succeeded, carry on as normal. If I failed, I would reload the game, go back into the conversation, roll the dice again, see if I succeeded that time. Because I got so tired of my character failing at doing the things that they're actually good at that it happened like 9 or 10 times in a row, like legitimately, and like my buddy who was playing the game at the same time is like, "Oh yeah, I was making like 40% checks and like passing them like they were nothing. Like I have not like failed a single like major check this entire time." So, I have this problem generally in a lot of games like if my character is supposed to be good at something in a video game, like can they please just do it? Can I get to a certain point where like it happens to me? The fact
Mhm.
is there is always the chance of a critical failure or a critical success. So no matter what, if you roll two ones, you will always fail, regardless of how skilled your character is. If you roll two sixes, you'll always pass. Okay. But I was rolling those two ones on things that I had massive modifiers to. It happens so often, and it was setting me back. Where this all comes to a head, and why I guess maybe I had okay, I had astronomically bad luck. But I think that a specific point in the game where the game design, in my opinion, truly fails is at the end of the game, you've got your suspect, you're interrogating them. Something happens during that interrogation that the game has kind of built up for a long, long point. But in order to get any value out of this moment, you need to pass a check. And it happened to be a check that I had a 97% chance of succeeding. And now this was blowing my mind. I was prepared for this to be the shining moment of the game for me. I was expecting this, it had built it up for a really long time. And I was like, oh my God, this is the big moment. I click the button to do the 97% check. I fail it, and then the scene ends prematurely. I get no value out of it. It just like something happens and then it's gone.
The game that should have been something where the game, I mean, if you had a 97% chance of succeeding, the game kind of wants you to succeed, but it like still, because it's still random, you can fail. It
Yeah.
feels like the game should make that not possible, like
Well,
that failing isn't actually possible.
but then like it destroys the conceit of its primary game mechanic and like the purpose of critical fails and critical successes. I think critical successes and critical fails in video games aren't a super interesting game design choice, but a lot of people would disagree with that. I think in this one, like in this moment, especially where it has been built up for so long, I'm excited about it. I fail the check. I reload. All the wind is blown out of my sails. I get the moment, and like the moment is cool, but now it's not like the ultimate moment of the game. Because, I obviously passed on actually, I think it took me 3 attempts to pass this 97% test. And then I finally got to see what it was about. Now, having that scene, I do not know how the rest of the game concludes in a narratively satisfying sense without passing that test. So if you were a character that had a lower chance of success, you randomly failed, or you just I don't know, did not even bother making it. Like I don't see how you could end the game and be like, "Yes, I am satisfied with how that wrapped up," because it provides so much extra information and context to events that you cannot get in any other way. Like to lock that behind this random roll that can have a critical success or failure and, cannot be retried like unless you exit the game and then
Hmm.
come back in seems really weird to me and seems like a big failure of the game design if that much can
Yeah.
be locked away. But yeah, that's basically my major thoughts on Disco Elysium at its core. It's like a very basic point and click narrative adventure kind of mystery game. You go around, you collect items, you solve, talk to people, do random checks and stuff. So there's not a whole lot to talk about like the game designs, but those are the major things that stood out to me. So to recap, really large list of skills is very interesting. naming the skills in unconventional ways kind of hurts the understanding and abstraction abilities of the player, and gating important things behind random skill checks with the chances of automatic success or failure in like A can destroy satisfaction of player, can hurt how much they are enjoying, like, oh my, like the sense of my character's good at this or my character's bad at this. If their character is like successively failing at things they're supposed to be good at, destroys the player's like confidence in their own character. The other thing that does is that it encourages save scumming. Like if you can fail something that your character is supposed to be good at and it gates important content behind that, like a lot of these, like the failure, like you can either retry later, you with better skills or better equipment or whatever, or you can do another route. But there are certain things where it's just important enough that you don't want to fail at it. It encourages you to save the game, try it. If you fail, reload the game. And if you play the entire game like that, like, is it? Are you designing your game to be played like that? Anyways, that's Disco Elysium.
Wow, it's almost like you
Ba-ba-bum.
designed a game that has no random numbers at all. It's
Yeah,
almost like
yeah.
it's almost
Important
like you prefer
context.
that.
Important context. I am designing and developing a turn-based RPG with no randomness at all, no random numbers in combat, no critical hits, no random movement of enemies on the above world to bring you into combat. Nothing is random in this game at all. And then you put me in a game where it's, oh yeah, 3% chance of failure. Oh, every
Yeah.
time? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
are we
All
ready
right.
for a rapid fire round? Now that I've slowed us down a lot and ranted and rambled, are we ready for a rapid fire round?
We are ready. So, a rapid fire round. We generate 3 random words. We have to make a game out of those 3 words, and we only have 5 minutes to do so. We have to use every single word, and we need to have a name for the game. Isaac, are you ready for the first
I
3 words?
The timer just set itself to 10 minutes after I set it to 5. All right. 5
No.
minutes. Ready? Steady. Go.
All right. I feel like we've done this one before. Not the words, but like you'll hear it.
Okay.
Litigation. We've definitely had a law game.
Yeah.
Litigation, transmission, and
Okay.
toll.
Litigation, transmission, and toll?
Toll,
Uh,
yeah. Like pay a toll or it took a toll on me. Either way works.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. So, log if we've done a game where you're a lawyer,
Yeah.
maybe you are a space trucker
Okay.
who avoids tolls and
Okay.
has to also avoid litigation. So
Okay.
you're a rampant space trucker. I don't know why I chose space. You could be a normal
I was gonna
trucker.
say, I was just gonna say regular, but well, you know what? If it's a video game, why not space, right?
Yeah, why not
Let's do
space?
space. Let's
So
do space.
you dodge the space tolls, you dodge the space cops, and you get to your destination
So it's
to
kind of like a racing game. Like I feel like you're like driving the spaceship, right? And you're
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you probably have like lasers, pew pew. And
Oh,
maybe
if
the
you want to
avoiding.
blow up the cops.
Yeah, obviously. And
Okay, all right. You can't be litigated against if there's no witnesses.
exactly. And maybe the toll avoiding could be like a bit of a puzzle break. So like from the action, like the to avoid a toll, it's more of like a puzzle situation. But then once you do it, you have to evade the police.
Yeah, I'm wondering exactly how like a space toll could work unless it's like warp. So,
I
okay,
was gonna say yeah, like
it's
warp
warp
points,
gates.
wormhole. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because if you are just flying through open space, like, okay, you just move slightly to the left and go around,
There's
like,
no
you
toll.
can't gate
Yeah,
off all of
space.
space.
Yeah, no.
So they have wormholes. So the puzzle is like figuring out how to hack the wormhole to let you through for free. And then, you have to get a certain distance away from the wormhole with like
Yeah,
the cops trying to stop you, like, hey, we detected you went through without paying the
yeah.
toll.
Yep. And
You
then
hacked our
you can,
system.
like, yeah, you can either evade them, you can shoot them. There's there are many ways.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're going to call this Space Evaders.
Space Evaders. Bam. Okay, 2 minutes and 16 seconds left on the clock. Space Evaders.
Nice,
Bam.
nice.
Perfect name. No notes. There we go. Bam.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
Wild
Are you ready for wild one? Ready for our next 3 words?
I'm not. I forgot that I need to read. Okay, I am ready in 3, 2, 1, go.
Outside. Discuss. Profile. Outside.
We get so many talkie games.
Okay. Well, okay. Here, how about this? It's like a mystery. Okay, you're a painter.
Okay.
You're an unplein painter, so you're painting outside. Everyone at this party is going to get their portrait painted, but they're going to discuss with you important clues about the mystery. So you're like kind of like an eavesdropper as a painter, but like you have to. Maybe it's like the game play is the better you paint, the more they tell you. So you have to like be good at it.
Okay. Now,
I don't know. Did I go off the rails on this? I'm sorry.
Now my question then is, how do we make a game that can like actually judge your painting abilities?
I guess it would be like how close it is to the likeness of the person you're supposed to paint. So like, is it the right like skin color, hair color? Like, is the hair the right length? I mean, AI is magical.
You're right.
Days,
yeah,
right?
I was forgetting about AI. We could link this into AI, use it as a tool for good instead of evil. And instead of using it to generate art, we could use it to compare art to something.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Like if we have like ideal portraits of characters, yeah, and then there's no accounting for style though, so you can't get abstract or caricature.
Although I feel like there should be like secret bonuses where like if you unlock like, oh, if you actually paint this person with a crown, you get extra information, but like,
yeah. Oh, if through conversation with them you find out like what they would really like, which again, this is a recurring theme in
I know it's a very
rapid fire round.
Yeah.
But like I do like it. Yeah, if you can find out like this person views themselves as a princess, queen, prince, king, or whatever, you paint a crown on them and they go, "Wow, this is really amazing. I was in the kitchen at 11 o'clock."
Yeah,
and then you go,
"I murdered the victim." Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I don't know. The mystery is kind of ancillary, but also fun. So and I'm reading a very intense mystery book right now, which is part of why my brain goes there.
Okay.
What kind of name? Is that our game?
We've got the game. We got to come up with a name. Game name.
Game name. Painted. I've come up with a lot of names lately. I think you need to throw some ideas into the ring. Painted faces.
So like like parlor mystery is like a concept, right? Like that's something that people like. That's a thing.
It's not something I've heard, but I'm assuming yes.
Well, okay. Let me do a quick.
Okay, I've heard of like locked room mysteries. That maybe.
Cozy mysteries.
Okay.
Okay. Well. What? I don't know why that came up when I searched parlor mystery, but it doesn't say like also known as parlor. What?
Okay.
Okay.
Brushes.
I got nothing.
Brushes, sunlight, painting, lines, mystery, hidden.
Van Gogh solved the case.
Yep, that's got to Van Gogh solve the case, because we've got to be short on time.
We've got a minute and 15, 14, 13 seconds left. Like, we've got a solid minute left if we don't want to go Van Gogh solve the crime.
I have to pick it. It's a pun.
Okay, then bam, with 1 minute and 4 seconds on the clock.
It's the case. Van Gogh solve the case.
Van Gogh solve the case.
The painting game where you solve a mystery through gossip.
The perfect game, in other words.
It is a perfect game. I think so.
It would also be a cozy game. It could be a cozy mystery.
Yeah.
A cozy.
It is I mean, I think it would fall under cozy gaming because, like, you don't you're not battling, you're not like stressed out. I guess you could stress out about the murder, but it doesn't really seem like you're super involved. All right. Are you ready for our final 3 words?
All right. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
This is going to be interesting. I smell a city builder because our first word is city.
Okay.
The next word is lazy. Then hospital.
Okay. This is a city builder, but the conceit is all of your citizens are incredibly lazy. So every single citizen needs a hospital, a grocery store, like all the basic services within 5 minutes of their house.
Wow. That's a lot of resources.
That is a lot of resources. And you have to earn those resources. You have to collect those resources. And that's the difficult part. Your citizens are incredibly lazy, incredibly demanding, and thus they don't earn resources either.
See, okay, I like this idea, but I'm hesitant because it's very much like I saw a TikTok recently about the 15-minute city, which is the idea that you can walk to
That's
anything you
another
need in 15 minutes.
conspiracy theory that
Right.
was introduced to recently.
Exactly. Well,
They're trying
so
to quarantine everyone to be within 15 minutes. That's the theory.
Right. So like that strikes me as like this game is kind of about that. And
You're
then
right.
also,
Let's not do 2 pro conspiracy theory
it's also
games.
very like anti-socialist in the sense that like it's saying that like people are just lazy and like if you know and then you as the government have to give them everything. Like that's so yeah, for moral and ethic reasons, I feel like this is not a great idea.
So, okay, let's flip it around. Let's flip it around.
Okay.
What if the lazy one is the city and you how do you make the player play something lazy that intrinsically requires effort?
Well, okay,
that's
so
an interesting game design question.
Yeah. I guess so like one thing I was thinking, which doesn't answer your question, which is a good question, but I was thinking of more of like the hospital in the city is lazy because I was watching someone play a city builder and like one of the things that I don't think about as much in city builders is you have to be able to get ambulances to people or to be able to pick up like dead people or something. So like
the spiral?
The spiral
yeah,
city,
okay.
yes. That's what I'm thinking of. So I'm thinking like, is the hospital the lazy one? But your question
That's
of like
very anti-hospital, which
yeah,
in some ways is yes, where we want to be, but
gotta
also
be anti something, right?
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, when the word is lazy,
that you're right. No, I feel like the word lazy, especially in like America, has a lot of terrible, like really hard connotations. That's what I'm trying to work. But I like your idea of like, can we get the player to be lazy? Like, right. I guess we have to define lazy gamer. I think of that as like not having to use both hands.
Oh, maybe you aren't playing a lazy character or lazy entity, but the intent is that you can play it while being lazy.
Yeah,
or
I
like
think so,
play it
like,
in a lazy way, so it's very
kind
slow
of like-
paced. One
Kind
hand.
of like Matchington or your Lord Match Mister Manor.
Royal Match, please. It's Matchington for men.
Oh. Wow.
Because it's got a king
wow.
instead of a fashion designer or whatever, interior designer. That's how it works, folks.
Wow. Okay. Well, how much time do we have left? Because we've been talking.
We have 1 minute and 22 seconds left, so okay. So you can play this game lazily. You play it with like one finger. You can lay down on the couch, like laying down on the pillow and just like swiping on it.
Oh, and all you have to do is get ambulances to houses that need them. You're just like, it's a point and click. Like,
oh, so you can like draw roads.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, there we
easy
go.
Easy, done. Boom.
Let's city planning is easy.
It's not life or death, but it is.
Okay, is that the name of the game?
No,
it's not life or death, but it is.
Well, because it's like it's lazy, but it's also like about ambulances. So.
Yeah.
Wee you.
No. Yeah. Well,
how much
maybe.
time do we have left? Pick a name.
25 seconds ish.
What was your name? City Hospital.
City planning is easy.
Okay, city planning is easy. Done.
Okay, with 13 seconds left on the clock.
Yep.
City planning is easy.
That's all we got.
The city
All right.
planning game where you can play with one hand.
City planning game where you can be lazy and still have fun. How about that? How about that, Mr. Oh boy. Anyways, that's our show.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. If you have games that you have honks and bonks for, if you have game ideas you want us to read, our last episode, we read a listener game. We're totally love doing that. You can email us, makethatgamepodcast@gmail.com. You want to find us on social, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok @MakeThatGamePod. You want to find us on Twitch, we're on twitch.tv/makethatgame, and we are on YouTube, youtube.com/@makethatgame. We love to hear from you. We love to see our comments and suggestions. And if you heard a game today that you think just needs to exist in your heart and soul and the actual world, we encourage you to get out there and make